petitioning and requesting the larger project on this part of the Buchtel corridor. As had been commented in the prior sessions, there's a much bigger problem going on with this corridor, and honestly, with this bike lane project, I've had discussions with Councilman Cashman. We've raised our concerns. We've been voicing our concerns for well over 2 years now. There are some opportunities in this corridor to do something really, really beneficial to the neighborhood, the adjacent neighborhoods, as well as bike lanes and pedestrian walkways that desperately need improvement right here on this stretch. And honestly, I think there's a lot of neighbors that I have that I've talked to that have conversed with me. Andrew's one of them that would like to see instead of a sort of a throwaway project, if you will, the larger, broader, comprehensive project done on this corridor.
Okay. Yes, very, very much so understood. No, very much so understood. I can personally attest on staff that we've been going through bonding and funding, and definitely a lot of funding needs to go through to do that. But there's no reason we can't get that direction. I think I would emphasize though that even if we're adding markings, a pavement marking in Denver might be 10 years. If we're adding a flex post, none of these improvements are precluding that from happening. The resurfacing is going to be about 90% of the cost of the project. And
that's really where I'm coming from, Michael.
Yeah.
It's the resurfacing costs. Those are going to be sunk costs, significant sunk costs with the price of asphalt. The striping and the barriers are fairly minimal. I think everybody realizes those can be moved and changed later. But the broader project really needs to encompass a high level overview and feasibility study, which we've talked to with Councilman Cashman to have done on this stretch of the corridor. There's a significant amount of right of way between, it would be on the north side of Buchtel in this stretch, between the barrier wall and the curb line that allows, it's right now it's just a barren wasteland of weeds and rats and mice and whatnot. And that presents an opportunity to do something really great here. And going through with this project and spending the money on the asphalt, it just seems a little tone deaf to what we've been trying to achieve for the last couple of years.
So this is Lisa Eddington. I'm the build project manager for this project, and this corridor is due for paving. It is not. It is something we need to do. The pavement condition on the roadway is deteriorating, and so we have to take care of that, or the road will fall into crumbs. And this opportunity to piggyback this bike lane on top of that paving process does not preclude us from doing additional design or improvements in the future. What it does is allows us to improve a bicycle facility that at this point in time is very short and doesn't have connectivity beyond that short stretch. It allows us to get that extended as far as the RTD light rail line and the campus. It also gets us some improvement in terms of noise, because the noise on Buchtel itself will go down a little bit. It doesn't address the noise from I-25. It does maybe make things a little better for those immediately adjacent. And we are, there is, like you said, a bigger project that needs to happen. The problem is right now we don't have funding to do that. What we have is funding that we can use to piggyback onto this paving project. does not mean that we're going to not do anything else in the future. It just means that right now, what we have is a little bit of money that makes a fairly substantial improvement to the bike lane and to the condition of the roadway itself.
Well, Lisa, I think, you know, from our standpoint, I think we might be able to agree to disagree on this point. You know, there's the pavement in this area. Yes, the level of service of the pavement is degrading. I think it might even be the original pavement from when T-Rex was done. But there's much worse areas of pavement around the district, even not even just in this area. So you know, I just see it, and a number of my neighbors here that are concerned about the broader project. You know, I just see that the pavement cost as somewhat of a waste.
I think that I generally agree with Matt, and it's a good opportunity. Just I've never met Councilman Cashman, but just echo what Matt said, and just that there's a bigger need here, and I understand that this project won't encompass that, but there is a big need here, and hopefully we can, with some new funding opportunities, given the stimulus money that's been floating around, that this could be a priority project, and that we just have our voice heard. So I appreciate everyone's time. So that's all I've got to say.
Andrew, totally understand. I think just to keep in mind that when we're talking to multi-million dollars, it takes a pace, right? We have to have a steady period of time. So I'm with you on that. I do feel like that would be the most best way to actually address the immediate need, but also it's not an either or. We also want to look at it a little bit comprehensively, and just to know, you know, generally projects tend to trail the economy and trail. I mean, we're all excited here at Dottie too that there's opportunity to improve a lot of roads, bridges, etc. with stimulus coming, but until it happens and until we, you know, think it through, plan it through, and get it in design, it is a process. I guess that's all I'm trying to really.
And Mike, what I would add, you know, I support this project. I think it's the right thing to do now. At the same time, I've been pushing on Dottie for at least 2 years now to get a full study of the Buchtel corridor, which to get done what the neighbors would like done and what Buchtel deserves does require that study. And for me, that's the middle ground here. Okay. To add sound walls, which I think are appropriate, to really look at all the options for creating a wonderful boulevard instead of the reduced concept that the city has taken on Buchtel in the past couple of decades. You know, the opportunity is there, as Matt and Andrew have stated. But, you know, I would love to see Dottie get serious. You know, if I understand there may not be $10 million to build sound walls and whatever else might become part of a broader project, but the few $100,000 needed for the full study, I'd like to see that get into a budget real fast.
And just to know, in our universe, is it Downing to Colorado? How far? You try to find the whole corridor.
Yeah, it's the whole corridor that we're here in Group 1. It's essentially Corona to well, actually all the way to University. But as you get towards University, you have, you know, the side street parking there, or the parking on the side there, parallel parking. But you know, the issue goes from, you know, the whole extent of this project. I mean, the noise issue runs from, you know, if I had to draw a line, I guess it'd be High Street, because after that you have a large buildings and the RTD station on the north side, but it goes from basically High Street all the way, actually past Corona, but this project is only addressing to Corona. So
I guess I'm looking for maybe even a little bit more than Matt is, in that I just want to take the wraps off this boulevard and really look at the opportunity you have and what this road is. Not only does it service the neighborhood, but it is probably the main road to the University of Denver campus. You know, with the access to the Ritchie Center, the athletic fields, the rail station, and I think we're cutting ourselves short. And I understand, as I said, I'll disagree with Matt and Andrew in that I do support this current project, but you know, this is a roadway that really can be something special. You know, it starts with the bridge across I-25 into the Colorado Station complex. And so, I mean, you're bringing people from the eastern reaches of Denver and Aurora, and we can get them all the way across Broadway to West Denver, but not with what we've got now. You know, sidewalks are missing or too narrow. You know all this stuff, Michael. But I just wanted to take this opportunity to restate my pitch that, like I say, I'm not asking for 10 million out of the budget this month or this year, but a study I'm asking for.
Yeah, and you know, I'd like to say that, you know, I agree with you, Paul. But to be clear, I think my opposition is the money spent on the pavement when we don't even really know what the larger project might be. You know, if we could do a feasibility study, you know, then we may have a better comfort level on spending the money on pavement. You know, so
yeah, I understand.
That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I understand that, Matt. I'm also aware of the period of time a study of this nature takes to get the funding, whatever would come out of a study like this. And we're 2-3 years or more down the line, and this pavement is further deteriorated, and our need for enhanced bicycle infrastructure is you know, gone waiting. So that's where I'm coming from. But I think basically we're all on the same page. We want a wonderful boulevard there, but it's just a different feeling of urgency.
No, I agree. But I think the infrastructure for bike lanes could be even more spectacular than what we're planning on with these buffer lanes. I mean, if we could do the full study, right? So
without question. I have the same view for the future. I've talked ever since we started the study on the University and Colorado Station rail stations a few years back. I mean, to me, I honestly do see this as a bicycle superhighway. There's few areas in Denver that have the potential for this level of east-west connection. And no, we're not going to get that with this project, but for, you know, a few years at least, you know, we'll get, I think, some real improvements. And, you know, like I say, Matt, they're going to pave this stretch whether we put in a bike lane or not. It's been on the paving schedule for several years. And so the pavement's going down. So I think it makes sense to add the bike infrastructure. And, you know, we need to keep pushing and get that study. You know, it's not, you know, it's not pie in the sky. It's an important stretch.
Okay, gentlemen, and with that, we need to close this breakout room and move back to the central room. And I appreciate all of your comments. We've recorded as many as everything that you've said, and we will continue this conversation later. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
thanks.
Yes.
How do we get back to the other room, Paul?
Hang on. If you down at the bottom, there's a button that says leave room, and that
Okay.
should take you back to the main room.
There we go.
There we go. Let's see you guys there.